Hello and welcome to Small Business Snippets, the podcast from smallbusiness.co.uk. I'm your host, Anna Jordan. In the first collection of episodes, we'll be looking at small business milestones, those real defining moments for an entrepreneur, like landing your first client, turning a profit, and even your first major setback. Today we have Dale Beaumont, an Australian technology entrepreneur, international speaker, and author. He started his first business at the age of 19 and kicked off $3 million companies before the age of 30. In 2015, he launched his latest venture, Bizversity. Today, we're going back a bit to Dale's first public speaking engagement as an entrepreneur. Hello, Dale.
Hi there, good to chat.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll dive straight in. Tell us about your first public speaking engagement as an entrepreneur. Where was it? What was it? And how did you feel throughout it?
So my first public speaking engagement was well, professionally anyway, was when I was 19 and I had just finished school and decided that I want to work with teenagers and running personal development programs. So I had spent a couple of months writing a talk, and that talk was basically a 2.5-hour workshop for young people, talking about things like goal setting and leadership and communication skills. And it was delivered with a lot of passion, but the audience was very small. We had 3 people only at our very first ever event. But I suppose that was one of my first lessons. It doesn't really matter where you start. It only really matters where you go next. And so it was really a good place to begin. But thankfully, things got a lot better after that first engagement.
How many people were you expecting, if you don't mind me asking?
Probably about 50 we were hoping for. We'd put up a few little ads and about this program that we were running. But the main thing is with anything, of the first time you do something, it's oftentimes pretty unsuccessful. It's only by doing it over and over and over again does the word start to spread. And once people really understand what you're doing, and once you get a little bit better at knowing what works and what doesn't, then everything kind of grows from there. So just to now, some 18 years later, I've probably spoken to well over 250,000 people and have had well over millions of views on my YouTube channel and delivered thousands of presentations to much bigger audiences these days. But I all started with just 3. So that's really important to note and to inspire other entrepreneurs that don't count the results too quickly. You've got to give it time in order for it to really succeed.
Right. Coming back to that first engagement, what lessons did you learn from it, and how did you carry these forward into your future presentations?
Yeah, so the first engagement we just sort of said to ourselves. I remember when we only had 3 people show up. I was with my business partner, and we basically said, well, even though there's only 3 people here, we're going to imagine that we have 30,000. We're just going to, really pretend that the audience is huge, and we're going to give it our all. And we did. And those 3 really loved it. And they went and they spread the word and told their friends. And the next week, I believe we had something like 8. And then the following week, we had 14. And things just kind of snowballed from there. But if we hadn't cared about those 3 people, we may never have had the positive word of mouth that helped to expand that business. So the main thing is that, if you do something, whatever it is, just do it to the best of your ability, even if it's just a single person, because you never know who that person knows. And that's really what you want to achieve in business. Even if you've got one happy customer, that one happy customer may be able to lead you to 5 or 10 or even 50. So make sure you always look after every single person.
And I understand that advertising and marketing is essential in events like this.
Yeah, so we learn a lot in terms of marketing, how to market, what people respond to, what they don't. So the first time we put together marketing materials, we didn't have a good headline. We hadn't really thought through what the value proposition or the benefits were, or who we're even marketing to. So we then did some study in terms of copywriting and marketing. And that's a lot of it comes down to really knowing your audience and being able to describe their problems, sometimes better than what they can even describe themselves. So really getting inside the minds of your end user and being able to write in a way that is going to basically encourage them to take action and buy your product or service. So copywriting was an important skill that we learned. And then later on, how to actually get that message in front of more people. In the past, it was obviously through print advertising was probably one of the biggest channels. But now these days, there are great, amazing tools like Facebook and YouTube advertising and many other tools as well, where you can target your message to a small group of people that are highly targeted. So there's some great tools right now which have really lowered the cost of advertising and made it a lot more effective. Social media didn't really exist when we got started 18 years ago in business, but now social media is one of the best ways in order to promote your product and a service. And so definitely having a Facebook page or a YouTube channel or Instagram page is a very smart thing to do for every business. These days, what's really popular is video, and sharing great video content through social media channels is a great way to be able to get your brand in front of more and more people.
Coming back to your first talk, how did you prepare for it?
Yeah, we did a lot of preparation. I would almost say too much preparation, because we tried to remember our speech word for word, which is very difficult to do. But when you have a mental blank and you lose your train of thought, then it's very hard to then get back on track. So I probably don't recommend doing that these days, is to write out your presentation word for word. Some people use just palm cards just with keywords to prompt what they wanted to, their main points. These days as well, of course, keynote presentations or PowerPoint slides that you can use if you have a screen, just to really keep people on track and also to prompt you in terms of where you need to take your message next. So the other thing that we sort of learned later on as well is really important to make sure that you build in participation and make your presentation more interactive, because no one wants to sort of sit there for an hour and just listen to someone talk. So doing exercises or role plays, or getting people up and doing physical activities, ideally ones that actually further embed the learning. That's a really important thing to do.
Could you give us an example of one or two?
Sure. Well, sometimes the easiest one would just be to, if you taught something for 5 or 10 minutes, you could say, turn to the person next to you and share what's the most important thing that you just learned. You may have taught five concepts, and so what you want to do is basically get people interacting with someone. Sometimes the best thing to learn something is to teach, and so if they immediately teach it to the person next to them or share basically what their biggest takeaway was, then that will be really kind of helpful in just getting them to participate. There's also ways in which you can get people to participate through either raising their hand or sometimes calling out certain words. You might want to leave blanks in your presentation as well, where people will call out certain answers, or you might even want to stop every 15 minutes and say, I'm going to answer 2 questions and then I'm going to move on. Who'd like to start? And then just having people raise up their hands and asking questions. And that's a really great way for basically to put your audience kind of on notice that they might be called upon at any time to do something. So therefore they should probably pay attention and listen carefully, because the last thing that they want to do is be asleep at the switch.
A lot of entrepreneurs get quite nervous, particularly if they're new to public speaking. What tips do you have to calm those nerves?
Well, I think the first thing to do is to realize the fact that the focus really is not about you. It's about your audience, and you're there to serve. You're there to add value to them and help them as much as you possibly can. A lot of times we become very sort of like self-obsessed and we're worried so much about what other people think of us. But the reality is that most people are concerned with themselves and not with you. And so all someone cares about is, can this person help me? Can this person solve my problem? is this person going to teach me something that's going to add value to my life? So if you know your material, and hopefully everyone does, and if you've got information that is useful for other people, which hopefully you do, because otherwise why would you be talking, then you'll be fine. And at the end of the day, people want to want to support you because they probably are glad that someone else has the courage to speak so they don't have to. So what you got to realize is that people are not against you. In fact, they're on your team. They want you to win and want you to succeed. But they also want to learn. And so as long as you've got something valuable to teach, then you'll be just fine.
And for those entrepreneurs that are quite new to the whole world of public speaking, what other advice would you have for them?
Well, I think public speaking is something that you can practice to a point, but you the only way to really learn is to do. It's a little bit like trying to read a book on how to ride a bicycle. You could read 1,000 pages and still not actually be able to do it until you actually sit on that seat and you turn those pedals. So public speaking is something you can study to a point. You can read a few books, you can go to some courses, and they definitely will be useful. But the best way to really learn is by doing. And so you really need to look for opportunities to speak. And oftentimes, if you're in a job or career, you could actually go up to your boss and say, look, I've noticed that a lot of people in the company are having issues around this certain subject. I would like to run a training for everyone to show them how to do this, or how to solve this particular problem, or how to make this particular thing more efficient. Now, you'll probably have your boss fall off your chair, because rarely do people kind of volunteer to do public speaking. Normally it's something that people do reluctantly. So if you're going to step up and say, I'd like to run a training on this, I'm sure your boss would be more than happy for you to do so. And that's your first kind of opportunity. Then from there, you may be able to go throughout your company, becoming a person of influence that's able to train and educate people on important business topics. After that, then you can try to look for outside opportunities, whether that be through meetup groups to start, or there's different business groups like Chamber of Commerce that are looking for speakers, or there's BNI meetings, Business Network International, and they're always looking for speakers. Also the Rotary Club, and also SWAP if that's available in your area, or another one is the Lions Club. These are all organizations that oftentimes require people to speak. And so look for those opportunities. And if you could try to do one every, say, at least one a month, then you start to see your skills improve. But if you can obviously do more than that, your skills will improve much faster. So put yourself out there, look for opportunities to speak and add value where you can. And sooner or later, people will actually start to go, can you actually do that talk, over to this group and that group, and word starts to spread. And then once you have more people asking, then you can say, sure, I'm happy to, but that's going to be $500 to cover my speaking fee. And then you'll probably say, people will go, okay, that's fine. And then sooner or later you'll put that up. And before you know it, you can choose to become a professional speaker and fly all around the world, being asked to teach on your core topics.
How would you decide on those price points and when to introduce them?
Well, it sort of depends on where you're speaking and for whom you're speaking and what purpose that you're speaking. And so once you sort of start, it's just a matter of just speak for free, because you really do need experience. But once the word starts to spread, and once you have people basically asking you to speak on a regular basis, then I think it's appropriate that you at least start to cover your travel costs, and maybe even just a small fee to cover your time. But then it just really comes a case of, supply and demand. If you've got more people asking for you, then you have time to actually speak, and the idea of you've now honed your skills, and the idea of speaking for free or at very low cost doesn't appeal to you, then you should just start putting your prices up. If you've got a really good topic and it solves a meaningful problem for people in the business world. However, there's obviously travel time to get to and from your actual presentation, and also the preparation that's going to involve. But once you have more people that want you again than you have capacity for, your fee goes up. friend of mine that charges $35,000 per public presentation. So the sky's the limit, really. But you just got to get started and keep learning and growing.
Well, I'm sure our listeners benefited a lot from your advice. Great. Thanks, Dale.
You're welcome.
You can find out more about Dale at dalebeaumont.com and BizVersity at bizversity.com. You can also visit smallbusiness.co.uk for more guidance on how to get your business going. While you're there, remember to follow us on Facebook at Small Business Experts and Twitter at Small Business UK.